Hello and welcome to another episode with the WERF League. I am JT. You can find me on Twitter, JT underscore the ginger. And this is Corbin. Corbin, introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Corbin Young. I'm in the WERF League, obviously. You can find me on Twitter at Corbin underscore Young 21. What do I do? I guess I do a bunch of writing and for Fantrax HQ, fantasy data. I kind of write all over the place, fantasy football as well, but we're in the heart of baseball season right now. And so, yeah, ready for what is it, April 1st, a few more days.
Right. It's here. It's gonna happen. And it's as of right now, there's still no DH in the NL. So we'll see if that rug gets pulled. Joking. I mean, haven't heard anything, but anything's possible. According to Kevin Garnett. So ultimately, I just wanted to go over the first big weekend of FAAB that happened in WERF, maybe look at your team. I think the overall consensus coming out of our draft was Corbin was the sniper, and Corbin had a stacked team, and everyone was a little bit jealous of just how everything fell and how well you did. So with that being said, here we'll share current team as it stands. So notice you've done a little bit of updating regarding the waiver wire, but let's go through it and get your take on what you feel like your strengths are and your recollection of the draft, and I'll just kind of scroll through your team top to bottom.
Yeah, I'm generally kind of a starting pitcher heavy strategy, just in general, whether it's a roto or in this case quality start league. I think I had, what did I have, the seventh pick, and so I just took Garrett Cole, and I kind of went a couple of a few bats here and there, but I tried to go starting pitcher early. I think my strengths is probably OBP. I play in a few OBP leagues and I kind of like it. It almost feels like it's easier to predict. Like I can be like, this guy's got a good walk rate, or this guy gets on base a decent amount, and I can kind of target those guys. The one thing I've noticed with OBP is that it's hard to find OBP guys with speed or steals. So that's definitely where I'm lacking. I think in one of the first or second, maybe it was right after the draft, you and Sean pulled up the kind of projected standings. I think it was like dead last in steals, and that's not surprising. I mean, when I look at my team, I'm like, well, yeah, Colton Wong is probably the only player that's going to give me double-digit steals, so that's a problem. So that's kind of that's probably where my weaknesses are. I because it's a 15 team, I really tried to focus on like playing time in a bat. So I really kind of looked for guys that I knew were gonna get pretty good playing time. I'm generally a low risk kind of person where I'm like, oh, I'll take this safe guy like Mark Canna, or I'll take this safe player instead of going a little too risky. I waited on catcher because it's a one catcher league. I have too much stock in a Buster Posey this year, so my teams are either going to be total garbage or it's going to be okay with Buster Posey. But I'm just I know he's not going to give me a ton of power, but I figure he's going to be like decent. Have him in TGFAI too. I think I waited that long for him. I'm a little worried. I have 4 guys with red flags. I have 4 guys that are injured right now. So Mike Yastrzemski, who I love, I think just had like a finger injury or hand injury recently. And
yeah, hit by pitch, hand, but X-rays negative, and he was able to text right after the game. So still nimble. I'm a big Yastrzemski fan as well. So
yeah, no, I am too. And I was like, when I saw the news today, I was like, no. I am I'm hoping Cole Calhoun probably will get IR eligible at some point. I don't know what his exact status is, but he had like knee injury, right, or something.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe he might miss till through April, best case scenario, from what I remember.
Yeah,
At least the first two series. So even better than that. Might come mid-April. Just depends.
Yeah, so maybe yeah, so and then starting pitcher wise, I mean, again, I feel like I just kind of grab most of the guys I really like. I really like Lance Lynn. I have a unhealthy love for Herman Marquez. I'm just hoping he gets out of Coors Field, but
Yeah, trade him.
just so many skills. Like, I mean, I know we're slightly biased here, but I've joked with my friends like the Mariners should trade for Herman Marquez and just give them some old guy that can contribute. Give them Kyle Seager and Mitch Haniger or something. They'll
Yeah.
take the older guys. He's got the skills. He's young. I think away from Coors Field, he's going to be just a solid dude. I love Jordan Montgomery. Freddie Peralta, Trevor Rogers, I know those guys have definitely got a bunch of helium lately, so they're kind of rising up the ranks. But those are some guys that I kind of liked as some sleepers coming in. And I don't usually like taking a guy like Noah Syndergaard, but we had an IR spot, so I said, "What the heck? I'll stash him and see what happens." So I feel okay about saves. I don't like that projection of Rafael Montero. I think he got lit up today or something, or yesterday.
Yeah.
For like 4 runs, and my buddy was like, "So is Rafael Montero really the closer, or what's going on?" And I said,
I
"Yeah,
think for the Mariners he is. I feel like he might be an eventual trade piece. So let him at least have a shot to own the ninth and close. Part of me wonders, because it's like right at the end of spring training, if he was just trying to really work on a single pitch, and you see some of those pitchers right at the end of, they just want to see a live batter react to it, so they might throw like 8 in a row. Just how's this move? How are they teeing it up, eyeing it up? Again, spring training numbers is tough to tell, but yeah, hanging up a 4 spot is never good.
yeah." Yeah, I mean, I feel like my team's mostly balanced. Outside of the steals are really lacking. But like I said, I don't know. It's like you might have to do the trade off, or I might have to do the trade off of giving away an OBP guy for a guy that can steal. Um, but yeah, no, it was fun. It was I think it was probably the first fast draft I've done all year, and it was on Zoom, so it was like I think the first pick really sprung on me. I was like, whoa, I have to make a pick. And Yancey's like, "Hey, you want to introduce yourself?" I'm like, the clock's ticking down.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's how I felt, because he was opening and I had the second pick, and then we had the oops, and somehow DJ LeMahieu gets picked number 1, and I was like, wait, is that what we want? And then I'm trying to introduce WERF and what it's all about, and then rewind, and then the clock goes full all the way to Mike Trout, and I'm like, well, that's a better name for number 1 overall. I think we're just gonna have to roll with it, not hold up the show any longer. But so that was a lot of fun. Yeah, definitely some names I can identify with. So I mean, the unique part of this is, yeah, you can always make a trade, and trade's a place where you have a strength or a plethora of certain stat, like you said, OBP, and kind of just see where you're at regarding stolen bases a few weeks into the season, how it's pacing out. But with that being said, I mean, you can always look at the waiver wire. So we'll flip over to that. So yeah, March 28th was like the first big FAAB weekend regarding starting season for MLB coming up. And so I was just going to roll through some bids. I did a quick skim. I have the setting turned on where we'll be able to see if multiple teams bid on the same player and what those were, and what ultimately the highest dollar, FAAB amount was. But in this case, for this week, I don't believe any two teams bid on a single player. So I think just if you bid on him, like right off the bat here, Nate Pearson, 0. Chris Crawford picked him up, dropped Seth Lugo. Pearson's one actually I drafted, and I remember thinking, oh, Kopech's there on the waiver. I'm going to pick up Kopech, and at least he'll be playing. I'm starting to get concerned about Pearson's injuries history, and I'm wondering if he might be eased into a bullpen thing, especially after 2020 and not, how stretched out these young arms are and what they're going to do. And Toronto already has like a 7-man rotation right now as it is. So I just kind of thought, being close to a wash, at least Kopech could give me some early innings that might evolve into an actual starter.
Yeah, Kopech could kind of be like the role that they're talking about, like with Alex Reyes. Like maybe he starts like maybe he just like fills in a bunch of innings and could be like get you some strikeouts and a decent ratios and stuff. And then I haven't looked at the back end of the White Sox. Yeah, I mean, he could, if he's healthy and pitching well, I don't see why he can't take the job from Carlos Rodon. So,
or if Rodon will even be healthy at some point in the season to even do that. One of those names, unfortunately, he just seems like, looking back, Monday morning quarterback type style, that his college experience did him wrong. He burned too many innings in his youth, but it's always fun to see him come back and really just kind of pulling for him to at least piece something together and hang in there. So next time we see Sean, okay, so you included, and Chris and Sean, and looking at Mark, we need to update some team names here in the WERF League. I think there's maybe about somewhere around a third still remaining to need to update have some fun with the team names. But Sean picked up Taylor Trammell, ultimately on the Seattle roster, left field. I don't know if he'll be playing, 5 or more games a week, but definitely a 5-tool type player, and be fun to watch. You've got your Mariners shirt on. I'm a Mariners fan. Most of us in the WERF League probably are Mariners fans. I know Heglin's a Giants fan, but any thoughts on Trammell?
Yeah, I talked to him on a little bit this weekend on a pod. I think he changed his swing. I saw something about that, and so it seems like it's translating. I mean, I even remember back when they made that trade, I was telling my friends, like, this is a great buy low on Taylor Trammell, and Ty France, and with the Padres, I was like, that's a great buy low, a guy that had so much hype, so much promise, and then just, the stock hasn't risen as much as we thought after that 2017 season or whatever it was, whereas pretty ridiculous. So I think it's a good, I'm looking at that and I'm bummed that I didn't put a bid on him. Because I definitely put a bid on him in TGFBI.
Right.
Yeah, 2017, 13 home runs, 41 steals in single A. I mean, I think that's maybe outlandish, but I mean, that's the kind of upside this guy has, right? 70 grade speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I love what the Mariners have been doing as a whole. I mean, we've often complained about the previous general managers. You can't have a roster full of Milton Bradleys and platoon corner outfielders filling your roster. I still remember like Jerry DiPoto, like way back when they got hired, and he's like, his focus was like controlling the strike zone. And if you look at like the guys he's drafted, like starting pitcher wise, like hitters, like they fit that mold, I mean, even Trammell, like he doesn't usually strike out a ton. He's usually got a pretty decent walk rate. And so it's just kind of interesting, like now it's kind of all coming together. I think we're still of a year, probably honestly 2 or 3 years away, but I think we're close to turning something around. Assuming Dipoto doesn't get like another job and this whole team turns over again.
Right. Yeah. It does seem to be materializing. And it is exciting. Some type of actual true hope after we're going on 20 years of no playoffs. But yeah, I mean, as far as I like having Taylor Trammell on the roster right now. I kind of want to see Haniger just be healthy and be a DH, honestly. And I really do hope France gets enough playing time, although I'm not sure where that would come from. And yeah, we'll just kind of see how it plays out. But at least there's excitement. And yeah, controlling the strike zone. As soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, some of their pitchers in the minor leagues for the Mariners, their K to walk is just ridiculous. So I know Kirby comes to mind. Just doesn't seem to. I think he almost had like an 8K to walk in 2019's minor league season. But let's see, coming up, Ian Kennedy. I saw Jose Leclerc announced, I think it was today, that he's going under the knife, Tommy John. So I would think maybe Kennedy is a spec ad for saves for Mark. Dropping Brewstar. I didn't know he was injured at all.
Injury, yeah.
Always begin on the injured list, and he hasn't pitched at all for spring training. Maybe that's why I haven't heard anything, because there hasn't been anything to happen. And I guess I should say, interject for those watching, just $1,000 FAAB budget for the season. So you can see the bid numbers there. Logan Webb, big name that's being talked about, definitely on Twitter, as far as making that fifth starter in the rotation for the Giants. And there we are, Hegland, the Giants fan, Palousers, dropping Scott Kingery, who was sent down to, I don't know, alternate side or straight to AAA. I don't know the verbiage there, but any thoughts on Logan Webb? I don't really know if I know much.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't logged a ton of innings. I feel like he's kind of late debut. The Giants seem to kind of have these guys that are, well, I guess not late debut, just like hasn't really pitched much. He's only logged in 94 total innings in his major league career. 5.36 ERA. He has a bit more walks than I think we'd like, but it doesn't strike out a ton of guys. But if he's got a rotation spot, I think he pitched well in spring training. I think that was what the hype was.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well. I mean, I can pull him up right here. His face almost looks like he's part of that Codify banner. I wonder if he's been working with them in the off season at all. 11 scoreless innings, 17 strikeouts to 1 walk. So that's doing something right.
Yeah, I was looking at him. Yeah, I mean, okay, well, that's an elite walk rate. So if he can keep that down, granted that he's not gonna have a identical 0.53 ERA and 0.53 WHIP on the spring training stats that I'm looking at, but
right.
I mean, yeah, maybe that hot start carries over, and so I mean, it's worth a spec,
Right. Would be interesting to me. I don't have Baseball Reference up, but I do like their opponent quality metric in terms of looking at all these spring training stats and at least giving a small weight to the quality of the opponent that they're facing. So that'd be something to look into further. Next up, actually, I do not know who the Ballard Bruisers are. I'm going to have to click and find out, but they picked up Jazz Chisholm, who's announced as is it going to be the starting second baseman for the Marlins, I think?
Yeah. General manager for the Marlins.
Dave Anderson. So Dave Anderson picked him up. Let's go back down and find Jazz here. Dropping Garrett Cooper, his teammate. yeah, ultimately some playing time and definitely some speed there.
Yeah, no, I grabbed him in like the last round of TGFBI. So yeah, I think that's just a spec guy. Yeah, no, I mean I think he's also been doing pretty well in the spring too, and kind of if I recall, his prospect deal is like, you know, speed, some power, but the hit tool is lacking a little bit, I think. He's got 3 home runs, 4 steals, and 41 at bats in spring training. But
yeah, I mean, if you were to ask Snell, he'd probably group him in that slapdick prospect type of group. Honestly, is what it comes to mind. But yeah, ultimately playing time and innings like fifth starter. I mean, that's what we're looking at in FAAB. Just the final roster crunch on who's making the 26-man roster and who's being put to the alternate side, which I would guess means they're still probably on the 40-man, depending on what the team dynamic is. But picking up Waka, Tampa Bay, probably another starting spec ad by Will there. Whitgren was a name I've seen a lot picked up. Save speculation, dropping Renato Nunez, who's I think he was cut, wasn't he, by Detroit? And
he didn't even make the roster. He like got sent down to the minors. Like I was kind of surprised by that.
I thought I even might have seen something like even late this afternoon. I don't know if he has to go through like their waiver process or if he has the option to declare as a free agent again. But I thought I saw maybe his name, maybe it might have been something else. I don't want to create any fake news, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean it looks like I don't know how updated this is, but on Fangraphs it says he has no other options. So yeah, he might get waived.
yeah, I thought I saw his name. Someone else was interested in just kind of signing him to but I don't know what kind of contract, whatnot. But ultimately, as it stands, he doesn't have a spot on a 26-man roster. I'm not familiar with Anthony Alford being dropped. Pittsburgh outfielder must be a minor league type guy being cut.
He's been kind of like I'm probably disparaging the name, but he's kind of been in that like Roman Quinn, I feel like kind of 4th, 5th outfielder kind of dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin Newman, I think he's been doing solid, I thought, with spring training, dropping Paredes. With Will here, I've seen his name a few times. He might just be kind of diversifying his roster, getting some different positions. He might have been light in some areas. And sometimes when you draft near such a deep league with this many teams, you throw some darts, and by the end of spring training, you gotta have like a backup shortstop, or in this case with like Newman's multi-positional eligibility, that might have been the case there. Jay Bruce being added with Voigt's injury, and Nick Anderson now. Is it official, Tommy John, or is he just on the IL for now?
Last time I checked, he was on like the 60-day IL, so could be
partially torn. So, okay.
So he's probably out for a while, if not almost the whole season.
Yeah, I think he takes was it Tanaka path? Wasn't he partially torn? But he just rehabbed his way back eventually, but it seemed like a rocky road to get there, if I remember right.
Yeah, and they have so many arms in that Rays bullpen that
yeah. Adam Frazier, I think he's been tearing up spring training, and obviously I think starting second baseman on a Pirate team, so he'll be batting in a good spot of the lineup. I probably should have thought about looking into him and adding him.
Yeah, I think I sometimes I feel like I have so many leagues. I thought I added him in here, but maybe I tried to add him in a different league. So I it doesn't look like I put a bid on him, so I probably did not, or maybe I did and it was too low.
Let's see. Randy Dobnak got that what is that called? I just blanked. The
Handlebar mustache.
Thank you. I wanted to say Fu Manchu, but I was like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Mark picking him up for $14. I know I think he's just been named part of the rotation, fifth starter, wasn't it? Oh, and he signed to the extension, so
yeah,
more of a solidify. Oh, season
starts. He's gonna be a bullpen, yeah.
Okay. So might switch him out. Okay.
No, I like Dobnak. Dobnak's it's a good story, right? Like he was an Uber driver. He had to play in the independent leagues. Worked his way through. I like him a lot. Yeah.
And obviously seems like an approachable type just based on his face. It's got the Horace Grant glasses.
Yeah, he's got an interesting profile.
Very northern Midwest type of just inviting someone you would be comfortable taking an Uber ride with.
Hey, you got to make money when you're he's like a super sinker heavy guy, right? He's got a pretty good slider. Anytime I've ever put something out about Randy Dobnak, it seemed like his mom or dad somehow find my tweet and they like it.
There you go.
But it's always like random, like 2 weeks later, and they'll be like somebody with the same last name.
Yeah,
I better not.
It's been fun doing this WERF league and looking at using all these different sites to gather information and seeing some of everyone's names. I know I've come across your name and I was like, where am I? I'm on Fantasy Pros, but it has this little write-up of whoever I was looking at the time. It was like, Corbin Young. I swear it was, I don't know if it's Fantasy Pros, but it just kind of, it's funny. Just like everyone has all this different kind of reach, and it's cool to just kind of form this community, and I'm really happy this league came together. So I think we just got a few more here. Puig probably spec trade pick, but no one's touching him, so picking up someone who's actually going to play with Smada there. Aaron Bummer would be 8th inning type role, I would guess, for a White Sox team that's going to win a lot of games, and you might get some saves. Kirby Yates injured, picking up Dolis. I don't know if there's any names you want to dive into here, but
yeah, no, I think Dolis is kind of the next guy up after Romano. I really like Jordan Romano, but yeah, I feel like, didn't the manager, somebody say like, oh, Romano might not be, but it's like, I feel like he probably is the guy, but the manager just got to say that.
I hope he is. I've added him on a couple spots now with Yates going down, and I'm going to participate in Doubt Wars this year. I did it last year, and it was fun just to kind of go through the auction results, add $1 to everyone, and from the Tout Wars drafts, and try to form your own team. So ended up doing pretty well. I think I won my league, and I was like 4th overall. So it was just fun. I like the auction. I don't do it enough, and it's probably one of my favorite ways to draft.
Yeah.
Luis Arise.
I think I tried to put in, like I said, maybe it didn't show, but I think I tried to put in a bid for Kevin Newman, but I just needed depth. We talked about this earlier, but I have like 4 guys that are injured, so I kind of needed a guy that could play, but then Mike Yastrzemski got injured, so now I might be starting a second catcher in my second utility spot.
Mike's fine. Like I said, he was texting after X-rays negative. We got a few days. He'll be fine to start the season. Let's see, Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson's a funny one because as soon as I read his name, I think of Sleeper in the Bus, Justin Mason, Paul Sporer. Sporer always yelling about how Kyle Gibson mows his like neighborhood or neighbor's lawn. I don't know if you know the bit from their podcast, but that's been a long running bit. Well, actually here in the Tri-Cities in Washington, there was or used to be Kyle Gibson's landscaping service, and I thought it was hilarious because it was like 3.4 stars and all this stuff. Well, I'd noticed at least since 2020 that it's no longer in business, and I thought, well, maybe Kyle Gibson stopped doing the side gig of the landscaping hustle, and he's fully devoted in Texas. He's got his health issues with, I think, his digestive system or something and intact. And maybe this is the year. Maybe Smada caught wind of that. I do like Kyle Gibson, but I just don't. Just the results haven't really played out in the last few years. But throwing $5, I think he's the opening day starter for the Rangers. So I mean, he's going to get his opportunity.
Yeah, I haven't been on him, but yeah, I mean, if he's gonna get a ton of innings, maybe he could be. I was just trying to look at his profile. I know he's got a good slider, but I was trying to think when I felt like good about streaming him, and I'm like, was it really that long ago in 2018?
Yeah, I think it was.
Like, man.
Yeah. Well, he was just recently quoted saying that his cutter, he's like, I'm starting to spot my cutter more. I'm not throwing it just to throw it. I'm throwing it in opportunities or against certain batters where it makes sense. And it just amazes me still, just, the mental aspect, the thought process behind it. It's like, doesn't that seem second nature? But like Paddock in the offseason just basically fell into analytics and was like, oh, spin rate and all this other stuff. So, it's easy to second guess or question him from just a fan's perspective, but it sounds promising where I'm not throwing it just to throw it. It's more of I'm going to throw it with intent and purpose and selectively.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. All those like little things that we don't necessarily see, or it's hard to pick up in the stats. Even one of the reasons why I'm like super into Jameson Tyone or even Nick Pivetta, who I cut, but I just had to cut because I didn't have a bat. There's some mechanical things that both of those guys have been doing, and I did a write up on Tyone, and it's like he talked about how I know it's just, he had the second TJ, but like he said his like mechanics were like put too much pressure on his elbow, and then I can't remember if he went to drive line or like he probably did or some equivalent, and it's like, and then he said they gave him like a weighted ball or something he threw, and he was like, that hurt. And it's like, and it's like, wow, okay. So just like little things like that where it's like I can't say I'm like I know a ton about that kind of stuff, but it kind of just makes like sense, of like, okay, right. If you less pressure on the elbow, shorter arm circle kind of thing, maybe it'll work out.
Yeah. And then just the last two FAAB here for WERF, Rodon getting picked up, Stallmont being dropped. Keep an eye on Stallmont. He just throws triple digits. It's fairly rare, and he might get save opportunities down the line, but Will might just need some more opportunities for quality starts. And then Smada picking up Isbell that was a hot name I've seen across Twitter getting picked up. And Smada 37 unit bid of FAAB dropping Pilar.
Yeah, I had to DM Smada. I was like, what? And like, okay, I gotta ask. I'm like, why call Isbell? I'm like, I know the name, but it wasn't even on my radar. He basically said he made the roster, could be kind of a double-digit home run guy. Not super good in LBP, but yeah, so there's some good reports. So I was like, okay, I just like generally curious. I mean, outside of seeing him on like dynasty lists, I can't even say he was even anywhere on my redraft radar.
Right.
So,
Yep. Cool. That brings us near the end. Just a couple notes about our WERF League trophy. I bought the material. It's going to be a Game of Thrones-esque chair, but it'll be made of small wooden bats, about some 4-inch, 6-inch, and the 18-inch that we'll cut down. My buddy's really good woodworker, so I got a little small Sasquatch that will sit on the throne, a little Gumby type Sasquatch. And I don't know if we'll leave it like a natural wood stain color or if we'll go like with the dark Game of Thrones type of vibe with like a black silver or something. So that's progressing, and ultimately the goal is to have it done by the end of this year, September. And then our logo is getting worked on, and I think we're at a final draft, and I'm really excited to unveil it here soon within the next week or two. I will say there is a moon, a mountain, a tree, a Sasquatch silhouette, and possibly a river/waterfall all involved in it. Pretty epic. Nice. And tying it into kind of like a Pacific Northwest vibe, even though we are the Western Expanse Roto Fantasy League. But things progressing, just kind of keeping it under wraps until the final product, and then just kind of be tweeting it out and showing it off and using it. So excited about that progress. But yeah, with that, I'll wrap it up. And if you want to plug anything that you're working on and remind everyone where they can find you on Twitter, go ahead, Corbin.
Yeah. What am I working on? I don't know. Since the season's coming up, we're kind of stopping any of the kind of, draft articles, that kind of stuff. Probably, I think for Fantrax HQ, I'm going to be working on kind of a buy or sell kind of piece, probably just looking at some hot or cold guys every week and just, what do we do with them? And then still figuring out my other weekly topic for another site, fantasy baseball related. So, if there's some ideas of stuff that I'm trying to, everybody does like 2-star pitchers, that kind of waiver wire. I'm trying to think of something a little bit different. And I like kind of digging deep. So I might do some deeper dives or something into some guys that are interesting or some changes. But yeah, just doing some of that. And yeah, I do a little bit on Fantasy Pros, so I'll be probably doing a little bit of some contributing there and part of the news desk as well. So that's gonna be pretty busy right here when the season wraps up. So just a lot going on baseball wise, and just can't wait for it. So appreciate you having me on, JT.
Yeah, definitely. And your Twitter handle?
Corbin _Young 21. Yeah.
Thank you much. Yeah, I'm JT. Find me on Twitter, JT _the ginger. I'm just like and retweet and trying to support and interact with everyone out there in the fantasy baseball universe of the Twitter niche kind of corner of it. But yeah, this is a lot of fun, and we'll try to get everyone together. Maybe we'll have like kind of simulcast a game and chat and just kind of more of like a group atmosphere. And hopefully sooner or later, eventually we'll be able to get together maybe next year for the draft and actually meet in person. But until then, baseball's right around the corner where the games count, and it'll be a lot of fun. So until next time, thank you much.